Me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Hey everyone, this is Robert Carey from America's #1 travel radio show. Join Mary and me and Rudy each Saturday as we cover the ever-evolving world of travel, talk with newsmakers, share compelling experiences, and explore the world together during the fastest 2 hours in travel on RM World Travel.
Hi, this is Richard with WSIC News. Check us out on social media. Follow, like, and subscribe to our pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're even on True Social. Just hit that search menu, WSIC News. You'll find us.
My goodness. All right, we're going to figure out some way. Hello, everyone out there in Radio Land, all of Alexander, Iredell, Rowan, the great Iredell County. It is 5 o'clock. It's drive time, baby. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some news. We're going to talk a little politics. We're going to talk neighbors, community. We're going to get to know our neighbors. We're going in a different direction. It's a brand new show here on WSIC. I'm Brian Summers, and this is On the Record with Brian Summers. And so we come in, we get in the hot seat, we get behind the mic, and we talk. And we don't always talk about everything related to the person that's going to be in professionally. Sometimes it's just a bio on getting to know your neighbors. So we have a segment like that, knowing your community, knowing small business. We're going to do some out of the studio stuff. We're going to be out and around the great parts of Iredell County, Troutman, Mooresville, Harmony, Lake Norman. And we're going to be out and do some things in the community as a remote. So you'll be able to see my bald head and my smiling face. And but we'll always be greeted with good stuff. So, but it is On the Record here with Brian Summers. This is our inaugural show. I welcome you all. I welcome all my listeners out there. Facebook, you're live streaming it. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere. And as my cousin Justin would say, we are everywhere. We're impacting. We're getting into the community. So very excited. I am back. I am refreshed. Had a little bit of a break. Got some time and really was focused on really trying to drive this show. And so I've had some special guests lined up to try to call in. And I don't ever want to announce anybody before I have a hard confirmation they're going to be here. But I do have a live in-studio guest coming. If you're looking on Facebook, you'll maybe recognize him at 5:30 at the bottom of the hour. But I was had invited two very special people to kind of call in and just kind of set things off for On the Record. And so we're still going to go in that direction. We're going to have some fun here. It is Wednesday, and I feel good. And boy, if my grandmother was around, she'd say, "Baby boy, you look good." So we're gonna have some fun for On the Record here. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to be Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 p.m. every day. So you'll hear my voice. And if you look on Facebook Live, you'll see my bald head shining in there. I know, give my barber a tip. But I check in over at Booker's Barbershop there on Garfield Street. Every now and then I catch in and hop in Booker the Barber's chair. And so good stuff there. And then make my way up around and go on a little further up Center Street, stop in the Black Box where I can get some of the best pork chop sandwich in all of Statesville. But we're having a good time here. I'm extremely happy and glad to have you here. I want to talk, some of you noticed some of the things going on in the news, what this show is going to be about. We're going to be about getting to know We're looking at national politics. We're looking at local politics. We're looking at community in such a way of what's happening in our community, what's going on around our neighborhoods. And we want to bring everything that's around your kitchen table really right here to Radio Road, WSIC. You matter. You're the most important people really in this country, in this world. So very much the listeners, the supporters of this station. And we want to know what's going on with you within your community, what's happening at your church. VBS Bible School, I know what's going on. Vacation Bible School should be happening this week and next week, the next couple of weeks. I reached out to some friends to find out what's going on at their church. I know Command Baptist Church up there off of in the West Statesville is going to be having a Vacation Bible School. Monticello Baptist Church is having one. St. John Baptist Church up in Poplar Branch. And so if you want to share your Vacation Bible School going on calendar schedule with me, please do call in 704-873-1400, 704-873-1400, and we will take that information. We're going to keep you plugged in with what's going on in the community itself, what's happening down in our city hall here locally particularly, and county commissioners, as well as some of the impulse of what's happening nationally in the country. Hope everybody had a very enjoyable 4th of July and really had an opportunity to kind of sink back into what is the 4th of July and why we celebrate and how we celebrate it. And but I got to tell you, things took a little different turn for me when I looked up and saw the news the next morning or same day, or even that evening, that there had been some awful tragedies in our country that particularly really touched me. I am for life. I support life. I am pro-life. And when I found out that two twins were in car seats in the privacy and the protection of their parents' car, and they were both killed by gunfire, I got to tell you, folks, my heart stopped on that one. I just really just a whole new thinking there. Every life is precious. Every life is precious. But this violence that is going on, this violence that is going in society, I refuse to accept that is all that we are here in this country. But we've got to figure out a way, and we've got to find a way. I don't have all the answers, but I got to tell you, it's got to be something beyond just thinking that these illegal guns, I'm going to say that, and I know that, and I am not against the Second Amendment. I am pro-Second Amendment, but I don't like anything that's going on illegal. And I'm hyping on it early, and it may some people get uncomfortable and turn them off. But I'm telling you, illegal guns are getting in the hands of the wrong people and the wrong neighborhoods, and that we should not have that going on. And we've got to find a way to stop it. Just flat out stop it. The illegal guns. And so the tragedies in Philadelphia and Baltimore and Dallas-Fort Worth this past weekend, the mounting violence in our country, the decay that people have a sense to not value life is something that is very troubling and very disturbing. But there's trouble also in the world. I know that this past weekend we had, I would call myself an amateur in somewhat the Russian Revolution to a degree, but there was some excitement when we left out of here last Friday, what was going on over in Russia itself, within the homeland of Russia itself, where there was one of their mercenary generals, Pavlovich, was going to be on his way to Moscow, had an issue and a falling out with Vladimir Putin, the El Premier president of Russia. And so there was some about 48 hours of conflict kind of going on, in which I immediately ran back in my mind to remember the last Russian Revolution, really, in 1917, when the Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsar there in Russia. And then, of course, 1989, when the old communist state of the USSR fell, and Boris Yeltsin emerged as the president of Russia. And so they've had their strife over the years. from the very first czar that took the seat all the way up. So that's a little bit of what's happening and what's going on international. And it was interesting to me because I really had some in-depth study into Russian history when I was in college, and even growing up here in Statesville in the library, I'd venture down and would just check out books because it was exploring the world. It was knowing about Peter the Great and the whole why he had such a very strong navy there in Russia and in the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, and what they were doing to do trade with the West. So just interesting things for me. Now to kind of fast forward a little bit more, happening just 3 hours ago here in the U.S. Got a minute to break? So, all right, sorry. We'll talk about on the other side of this break what happened. Iran was being a bad actor out there in the Oman and the Strait of Oman, trying to attack oil and get oil ships. And so we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. I'm Brian Summers. This is On the Record. We're going to have some good stuff going on, and I appreciate you tuning in. Look at us live on Facebook. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless America. We're having fun, folks. Stick around.
The issues that face your community. WSIC is your source for news, talk, now.
Bring Mike one up.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Lights, Camera, Birkdale. At 7:30 this Saturday evening, celebrate Christmas in July at Birkdale by watching The Grinch. It's a 2018 animated version. Bring the whole family out this weekend to Birkdale and Huntersville for movie night. For more info, visit birkdalevillage.com. Iredell County Public Library's Toddler Storytime is happening Thursday, July 6th from 10 to 10:30 in the morning. The focus is for children ages 18 to 36 months. Registration is required. To register online, visit iredell.lib.nc.us. That's the Iredell County Library website. Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has released their upcoming fall schedule. Some of the acts include comedian Jeff Allen and the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. For the full schedule, visit them online at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. 2023 is the year of the trail. Cornelius is challenging community members to visit all 9 greenways between now and the fall. Each trail has a station where you can check in to verify you have visited each of the trails. Visit all 9 and you will receive a swag bag from the town of Cornelius. To find out more, visit cornelius.org or contact the town of Cornelius's Parks and Rec department. The Huntersville Growers Market is open each Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. The Huntersville Growers Market is hosted at Veterans Park in downtown Huntersville. Want to be a vendor at the Huntersville Growers Market? Visit huntersville.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
Here's your latest forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. A slight chance of showers through Monday as we head into the evening hours. Mostly cloudy with a low around 70. Sunshine returns for tomorrow with a high near 89. Thursday night's low around 71. Then more sun Friday with a high near 91. Mostly cloudy Friday night with a low around 70. For your Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 88. Then mostly cloudy Saturday night, the low 71.
Join your friends from Oswald Baptist Church in Troutman, Sunday mornings at 8:30 on WSIC. Be informed and inspired with teachings from the Word of God by Pastor Wesley Morris. Sunday mornings at 8:30 on WSIC.
All the news, one station. News Talk WSIC.
Your city, your voice.
We've never been more politically divided than now.
Talk radio, powered by you.
The mass shooting thing is out of hand. We need to do more.
This is WSIC. News, talk, now.
All right. Music on. Let it play. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, look, we're still learning here in the studio, folks. We're still learning here in the studio, folks. So it's all right. And I'm Brian Summers. This is On the Record. And we're learning. It's day one, inaugural show here, a whole hour here on WSIC in my hometown, and I can only say that God bless America. The possibilities in this country of what can happen and what can do are just awesomely great. And on the other side of the break here, I was talking a little bit about what was happening in the world, a little bit of foreign policy, a little bit that was going on. I think on your drive time on your way home, folks, mom and dad out there, you're going to see and hear a little bit about what's going on with Iran. That somehow there were 2 oil tankers over the weekend, particularly Saturday and Sunday, who had excursions in the Gulf of Oman with the Iranian Royal Guard. And one of the ships was fired upon by the Iranians, and the U.S. Navy was in the area and heard a distress call from one of them and had to respond. And but that's the American way. That's our spirit. We're always the defenders. We're always the one to make sure we have an oil embargo against Iran, and we have sanctions against them as well too. And so they're not supposed to. No legitimate country should be doing any business with Iran because of their totalitarian actions and behavior and how they have been as a country. And I say that as someone who worked in the U.S. Senate, and my boss was chair of foreign relations, so I know a little bit about the foreign policy of where we're going as our country. And so, but Iran is stirring up some bad actors over there in the Gulf of Oman trying to get oil. And so we've got that embargo against them. We've got the sanctions against them. And so we're going to do everything we can to keep a close eye on what's going on there. Also, too, all national news that was kind of going on. We all heard about what happened in the White House. But someone asked me over the weekend about the West Wing tours, and I said I remember the West Wing tours for my 2 years there in the White House in the George W. Bush administration, particularly. I knew, when you had West Wing tours, those are dedicated down that corridor, and of course the office is roped off, so you just really go down a hallway, and on both sides, a nice big red carpet there. You've got cubby holes on one side where you can actually place your cell phone and your camera and those things while you go on the tour, particularly. So I'm not quite sure how some substance ended up at the White House, a bag or something at that. So I don't know where the bum-sniffing dogs were at, because that federal property for sure, they should have had, not to get into the weeds too much with Secret Service and their protocol, but there should have been, you should have not been able to even get on the grounds without the dogs signaling and signifying that they detected or had a whiff of drugs, particularly anything illegal there on the ground. So the president was away, so that the news sources say, and he was at Camp David, so the news sources say. I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. But maybe he had family stuck behind. I'm not sure. I'll just leave it at that. But always things going on here. But we're going to bring it back a little more closely here to me. I've got a wonderful friend that I've really had a chance over the last 2 years to meet, and I'm going to introduce him to you all in a minute. He is just been a wealth of knowledge and just really befriended me, and I would just think of all the events going on in this country this week, particularly. I wanted to talk to him. We just celebrated the 4th of July. And there was another aspect of what happened out of the American Revolution, the 4th of July, the Declaration being signed, the Constitution being voted on. But if we come up a little bit farther from that, this is the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, up there in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I know that from my time in WE school, particularly as a young student, always hearing about and reading and having to recite the Gettysburg Address. And it wasn't until I was really early into my young adult years that I actually made a trip to Gettysburg. And I think I would appreciate it more so now than I did when I went out there. I was probably like 22 years old, and I don't know how much attention I was paying to anything, but I still had a knack for history and appreciating that and wanting to really just see all of the things that I had heard about growing up in this country and the freedom to go and see where this great battle. And now, that's 34 years later, learning that I have some historical and ancestral connection to that battle in the battlefield. So we're going to talk about here. I call him a guru of all things. Wasn't sure to call him a historian. Wasn't sure to call him, I would say a history buff, maybe not it. But I was sure that he's a great husband, father. He's a friend of mine. He has really just I thoroughly look to him for a lot of things, and we have a little club together that we have. And I call a little group of myself, his buddy Frankie, and Dr. Abel, and Norman, and so I call all those guys names. So I hope they don't let the public be bothered that we're friends and we hang out. They haven't kicked me out just yet, though. So, but anyway, his name. If you're looking here on Facebook Live, you can stream us at Facebook Live, and also you can give us a call here once we open the lines at 704-873. 1400. I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm all excited to have him here, and we're going to take our time. 704-873-1400. It is David Pope, and he has really become a good friend of mine, my go-to for a lot of things. I want to welcome you, David. You're my first guest here on the record with Brian Summers, and we're going to go on the record with the knowledge of some things but also learn about you. I know the things of interest to you, but I want to know you. You're born here in Iredell. Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Got that USC shirt on. I don't know what that's about here in North Carolina. So is everything... Hey, looking good. Okay, go. And so, hey, it's day one, folks. So I'm an intern getting guided by Joe Berg, and so he's guiding me around. So, David, welcome, my brother. Thank you for thank you for agreeing to come on and sit live in studio with me. It is an honor to have you in front of me. And history is so damn important that I could not think of just talking local, good old deviled egg and macaroni and collard green history. Do it with you, my brother. Right. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my first time being on the radio, so we were really an intern. We got a real rookie sitting on this side.
Well, we went to the same barber this morning, so he missed the spot.
Pretty close, yeah. I am a native of Iredell County. I always tell folks I'm a first generation Iredell County man, but my family has been across the river over in what's now Catawba County since 1763.
Wow.
So all my roots are basically a little west of here, but my father moved here in 1938, and I was born in 1941. I always tell folks I'm a pre-Pearl Harbor, because I was born in November 1941.
Oh, wow.
And my first car ride was on December 7th. Growing up, we always went back to Alexander County or Catawba County every Sunday.
Okay.
So that's kind of a beginning thing. My interest in history came from both of my grandmothers. Both of their father-in-laws were both Confederate soldiers.
Wow.
Confederate veterans.
So wow.
They had a lot of closeness, and they could tell stories. There wasn't any radio. There were radios, but there weren't any TVs. So I'd go to the grandma's house, and we'd sit around and ask stories about everything in the past. And they could quote genealogy like the Bible. They could say who begat who and who married who, and that really perked my interest in family history. And then that interest in family history also led me to be interested in the battlefields of the Revolution and the battlefields of the war between the states, or the War of Northern Aggression, whichever you prefer. So that led me into in this historic period of July 4th, which, the foundation of our country, the independence, the breaking away from Britain, but also in 1863, it was a big time in that conflict.
Right, exactly. And so, to me, I think about how I grew up here, born and raised in Statesville too, but I always was trying to, because I would go by and I'd see these placards along the side of the road, and they were historical ones from the North Carolina National Resources, and they'd be the signs with the silver backline, the black line. It would tell something, talk about the Vance House, it'd talk about Vance Hotel. It would be things of that. And I said, well, curious, where was that at? Or a little bit about, some of the Revolutionary Wars. And I said, well, where did that actually take place? The curiosity of history. And I think that, everyone was again celebrating the 4th of July, but I wanted to talk about the 160th year, the Battle of Gettysburg,
right?
The turning point of that, how we got here, and what that's all about. So we got to take a minute, and Dave, you just talked to me about that, and just kind of we'll be getting into it, and then we'll have a break, and we'll come back on the rest of the side. All right?
Well, the Battle of Gettysburg, I always wanted to go visit there. And people laugh about this, but I went there on my honeymoon.
And she's still married. Well, she stayed with you.
59 years later.
Wow. Poor Miss Gail, I tell you. Yeah.
So we visited the battlefield at Gettysburg. That was my first time, and I've been real fortunate in later years to visit there and tour the battle twice with one of the most esteemed folks in the, in history is Mr. Ed Bars. He was they called him the Pied Piper of history.
All right. Well, we're going to hear about Mr. Moore, more about Mr. Moore on the other side of this break.
Local news and weather now on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. News, talk, now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. WSOC reporting that a 25-year-old apparently drowned after he fell off a boat yesterday afternoon on Lake Norman near Blythe Landing Park in Huntersville. Multiple agencies were involved in the recovery. Channel 9 identified the victim as Diego Andres Osorio Garcia. Iredell Firewire said the victim fell off the front of a pontoon boat. And a 4th of July celebration was interrupted in Knightdale after police say fireworks were set off in the crowd of onlookers. Knightdale Police Chief Lawrence Capps told WNCN that crowds of people started running away after fireworks went off on the ground in the area around the food trucks. He says no gunshots were fired during the incident. Chris Miller, the battalion chief for the Knightdale Fire Department, says nobody was hurt, but there were some heat-related medical calls. Now sports with Joe Berg.
Yesterday was the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog contest. The legendary Joey Chestnut took home his 16th win. Also, PGA Tour at the John Deere Classic starts today.
WSIC weather calls for a chance of showers and thunderstorms through Monday, mostly cloudy today and tonight. The high today near 88, tonight's low around 70. For tomorrow, sunshine with a high near 89. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
This is Fred Lowry at Lowry Drug. We now have our own brand of full-spectrum hemp extract, also known as CBD oil. I personally manage this product as it was grown on my farm here in Iredell County. It was then processed and bottled here in Statesville. This is a true herbal extract with all the medicinal components intact. A product you can trust to be authentic. And since there is no wholesaler, it's at a price you can afford. Try it at Lowry Drug on Hartness Road in Statesville.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
Call 844-TAX-LAWS, 844-TAX-LAWS, 844-TA. Folks, you know Randy Marion sells vehicles the King of Price way, but did you know our service department? We service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive, whatever the season is. Randy Marion Service Departments have you covered. Come see us today because, folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
Hi, this is Andy with Lake Mountain Coffee, located at 110 West Broad Street in Statesville. Many of you probably know us from our large coffee house downtown, but did you know we're also the owners of Statesville's first and only coffee roasting facility? We purchase coffee beans from around the world, bring them right here to Statesville, roast them in our facility for our customers around the region. Why would you go to a grocery store, purchase old coffee beans off the shelf, or any other source where you can have fresh roasted beans at Lake Mountain Coffee, 131 West Broad Street in Statesville.
Tune in for short track racing news and race driver interviews on PRN's At the Track, Sunday evenings beginning at 7:30 here on 100.7 FM and 1400 AM WSIC.
Hello everyone, this is Joshua Dobie from North Main Financial Group. We're blessed at North Main Financial Group that most of our clients come to us by referral. When folks have a good experience with us, they share that good experience with their friends, family, and colleagues. In doing so, when we're sitting with folks then, we're looking at their financial plan and seeing if it aligns with their goals and their desires for what yet lies ahead, be it college, be it retirement, or be it estate planning. If that sounds of interest to you, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com.
News Talk WSIC, Statesville, Lake Norman's most trusted news source.
Hi, this is Darren Strublow. Join me for my family-friendly show, The Darren Strublow Comedy Show. We'll have some fun and get you set for a great week. Sunday night at 6, right here on News Talk 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Coming back in here. Things are going well. I've got the David Pope here live in studio, and he's my guest. And we're talking 160 years of the Battle of Gettysburg up there in Pennsylvania that took place, and some notes and some history that he was just sharing that made it really local, because I think piqued curiosity. If you're in the car and you're driving home, you've got the kids, you may have that third or fourth grader there who may have said, oh yeah, one of my teachers mentioned about the Gettysburg Address, or that Gettysburg, where was that exactly? A lot of people I've heard of Gettysburg, don't know where Gettysburg, Pennsylvania is, don't know the battlefield, or maybe never went there. But I think in this summer of road trips and things, I'm adventurous and a history guy. So make it a point, folks. If you take that road trip and you go up from leave North Carolina, you go up the back way, up 81 to 29 into Pennsylvania, or you go from 95 over. But stop in at Gettysburg there, see this great place where American history took place right there. And if you're from North Carolina lost more troops there at the Battle of Gettysburg than any other state. And so I have David Pope here in the studio, and he's going to enlighten me and all of us a little bit more, and then talk about those who were regiments out of Iredell County raised up, and troops that went off, and just so that before anybody gets their back up, the folks that marched off from Iredell County were not all slave owners. So I'm just going to tell you that right now, including one of my ancestors. So I just want to put that out there, and if anybody got a problem with it, you can meet me in the parking lot. I just got to tell you. So I can say this is my show, that dang it. So, but I'm glad to have you here, David, Mr. Pope, and I say that because I got to put a tie on, and they say, well, what are you dressed up for? I said, Mom, we on radio. It's the day of inaugural show, and as my grandma would say, boy, look well up there, and then you speak well and behave yourself. So this is what we're doing. But we're going to have some fun, because I'm sure there are kids out there, there are folks out there who maybe have forgot about Gettysburg. I mean, they know about Gettysburg because of Lincoln's address there, but they need to know about the battle and the amount of life that was lost there, from both sides. And so to me, it's important. And I think when we think about the freedoms of July 4th, we also have to talk about the freedoms that really got our country to where we are now, and that was the great battle there that took place there at Gettysburg. You can chime in at any time there, David, and just kind of go ahead. I'm sorry.
There was a 3-day battle, so the casualties mounted. I looked up some figures. You look up casualty and people are participating and all, you get a whole range because the records weren't all that good. But I did look up one that said there were Lee had 75,000 men, and out of that 75,000 men, there were 28,000 casualties. Wow. And that's not. And when you look at casualties, a lot of people get that confused with all dead. But a casualty is you were killed on the field, you were wounded, or you were captured or missing. They assume most people, if they were missing, were captured and went to a prisoner of war camp. But North Carolina had another figure. I had to do a little homework. I was coming
good,
because you don't know these stats off the bat. There's a North Carolina, according to this one source, provided 14,147 men in the Army of Northern Virginia on those 3 days, and it ended up there were 6,000 casualties.
Wow.
So it was about 42% of the men who participated
were from North
either
Carolina.
Killed, wounded,
or
captured.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. And you said it was a 3-day battle.
3-day battle.
Wow.
The first day of the battle was these troops were all gathering towards Gettysburg. And the first day of the battle, Ewell would have followed Lee's instructions and taken Culp's Hill, there wouldn't have been a second or third day of the battle. But because they fought hard all through the driving into the town. But then the federal troops occupied the high ground on Missionary Ridge.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
There was a tremendous amount of fighting. I looked up. We didn't have many people in the 26th North Carolina, but that's the one that had the most casualties. And if you count, I go to Civil War Database, which is an online service, and it gave the killed, wounded, missing, and all. On the first day of the battle, the 26th North Carolina had 90 soldiers killed.
Okay.
They had 425 wounded, and 97 were missing or prisoners. So, that's horrendous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But they went on to fight. They didn't fight. They fought the next day, and even they were in the assault on the third day.
On the third day.
Yeah.
So of those, and I know you know this, but just for our listeners out there, what regiments of those made up Alexander, Iredell, maybe even Rowan County? That's to me, that's the good stuff right there.
Yeah, okay. I looked up, and I didn't get far enough to get all. A lot of the regiments that had people from Iredell County also had people from Alexander County.
Right. Yeah.
So the 4th North Carolina was a regiment out of that had 3 companies of Iredell County troops. And a regiment was generally made up of 10 companies, so 1,000 men. So,
okay.
So 3 of the 10 companies were Iredell County boys, and they hit it hard on the first day. The 7th North Carolina was also had a company from Iredell County, and they ended up with 200 casualties for the 3 days.
Okay.
The 18th North Carolina had a few, not as many people from Iredell County, but they had them. The 33rd North Carolina, example, on the third day, they had 17 killed, 63 wounded, and 71 captured. That's 154 men.
In one day?
Yeah, one day.
Wow.
And I jump over here to the 38th, because I know you have a particular interest in the Rocky Face Rangers.
Well, yeah.
You have a relative in the Rocky, or you have many relatives,
ancestors in there.
In that unit, and their day, on the first day, they came down the Chambersburg Road. They they were in the first group that came down, and they were basically along the Chambersburg Road heading into Gettysburg. And then on the second day, they kind of got a respite. The third day, they were in the assault on the line. Everybody talks about Pickett's charge.
Okay.
Well, and it's kind of like chalk on a blackboard to me, because there were more North Carolinians in that charge than there were Virginians.
Wow.
And the North Carolina paid a much higher price that day than the Virginians did. The reason it was Pickett's charge was, according to what I've read, Robert E. Lee let one newspaper man go with the Army, and he was the Richmond Times and Dispatch.
Gotcha.
So the only thing he wrote about was
Richmond.
Was the Virginia
stuff.
soldiers. You know, Pickett
Ain't that like the media though? Isn't that what they do? You know,
Pickett and his poor Virginians.
Well, that is. I mean, you do this stuff, and I think that it's awesome, and I think it's very appreciative. Because I think as we get into the summer months, now we're in the first real week of July. Somebody out there is thinking about taking a road trip.
Yeah.
And they're going to maybe take their kids or grandkids up the East Coast and stop. I asked them, go to Monticello, stop by Washington's, George Washington's place there at Mount Vernon. Yeah. See all of this history, get an idea for these people you've read about, you've seen. Now you get to see it for yourself. And Gettysburg should be one of those places along the stop. And I think that for me it was very, very important to kind of get a little talk into that. And we'll get on the other side of the break. We'll talk a little bit more about it and maybe figure out if there's some way that folks maybe want to reach out to you or what's going on or what's happening to kind of keep this. Because I think it's very important, the fact that there were North Carolinians fighting there in Gettysburg.
Right.
That's awesome, and that's good stuff. All right? Good deal. All right. Thanks a lot. David Pope is my guest here on News WSIC, on the record with Brian Summers. Oh.
Hey, Tim. What's going on over here?
Uh-oh.
Simeon's potting up two things at once. He moved Simeon, and both of those moved.
I don't have any idea.
I don't know either.
Is Justin, he's not down in the Cornelius studio, is he?
He might be doing it. Maybe.
Month. Registration is required. To register online, visit iredell.lib.nc.us. That's the Iredell County Library website. Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has released their upcoming fall schedule. Some of the acts include comedian Jeff Allen and the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. For the full schedule, visit them online at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. 2023 is the year of the trail. Cornelius is challenging community members to visit all 9 greenways between now and the fall. Each trail has a station where you can check in to verify you have visited each of the trails. Visit all 9 and you will receive a swag bag from the town of Cornelius. To find out more, visit cornelius.org or contact the town of Cornelius's Parks and Rec department. The Huntersville Growers Market is open each Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. The Huntersville Growers Market is hosted at Veterans Park in downtown Huntersville. Want to be a vendor at the Huntersville Growers Market? Visit huntersville.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
Here's your latest forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. A slight chance of showers through Monday as we head into the evening hours. Mostly cloudy with a low around 70. Sunshine returns for tomorrow with a high near 89. Thursday night's low around 71. Then more sun Friday with a high near 91. Mostly cloudy Friday night with a low around 70. For your Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 88. Then mostly cloudy Saturday night, the low 71.
Do you own a small business and want to know the value of your business? You need the real deal for small business. Joe at jvagnone.com. That's Joe at jvagnone.com. It's time for you to know the value of your business.
Join me, Darren Streblo, for the Darren Streblo Comedy Show, Sundays at 6 p.m.
Hi, this is Mark Walters. Join me on Armed American Radio as I take a stand for Second Amendment rights. That's Sundays from 8 until 11. I will be on your radio fighting for freedom right here on News Talk 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right. We're back here on the side right now. It is On the Record with Brian Summers, and I have live in the studio here with me Mr. David Pope. And I call him a history buff of all things to a degree. But I found out a little bit more about David. He's been married 59 years. 59 years. Boy, Miss Gail. But now, how many children do you have, Dave?
I have 3 children.
You have 3 children. Okay.
8 grandchildren.
Okay.
And 2 great-grandchildren.
Okay, 2 great-grand. Okay. Gotcha. And so, and he was telling me that he's the middle child as well. So I was listening for that. And so, but just really, I look at, and I kind of, I was raised really with older parents, grandparents, particularly my great-grandmother and my grandmother. And I've always been around older folks and knew how to handle myself. And I think, and I don't say this in a negative way towards you and Dr. Abel and Norm and Frankie, but I've been very comfortable because we've always been able to have good, mature conversations. And so I've always, thought-provoking people, thinkers, not any nonsense and whatever. And I think that that goes probably back to Ben Stimson and Ed McClellan, poking an interest in me in 7th grade there at DMAT Thompson and then saying, come in the next day and let's talk about what's going on in the world. So, so kind of blame him for all that. But I'm so very glad that you joined me live here in studio. So we were talking about Gettysburg. And so David was telling us about the North Carolina excursions that happened up at Gettysburg, but also the Iredell, maybe Rowan and Alexander regiments that had saw action there at Gettysburg. And so I think he threw out some stats and some numbers, but I didn't get to bring it in to put up. There was a picture I think you sent me or somebody did of there's a monument there.
Yeah, here's
there's a book, so we can get that over there. Go ahead, David holds the book up right there.
That's a shot of
Yeah, the North Carolina remembers Gettysburg.
that's too small to see.
Yeah, but they're good. So that's the title. All right.
In about 1929, I believe.
Oh wow. Okay.
By the state of North Carolina, and the sculptor was Gutzon Borglum,
who did Mount Rushmore.
did Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. And you can tell a lot. This man I was talking about, Ed Bars, he was his chief historian for the National Park Service.
Okay.
And after he retired, we were fortunate to accompany him on 2 tours of Gettysburg. We spent 10 hours a day for two days each time we went. So we had 20 some hours. And his take on history was, to understand the history, you have to walk the ground. So that's
powerful itself.
Yeah. So you walk the ground and you read about something, but then when you actually walk the ground and see what was there, for instance, on the assault on the 3rd day at Gettysburg, the North Carolina troops, when they came across out of the woods and headed a mile, they went across a 1 mile open field.
Mm-hmm.
And which was armed with I don't know how many Union cannons that were firing back that way. But the Virginia troops, they went through a kind of a swale, and they went out of sight, and they explained to us up there that if you were out of sight, they didn't fire. Mm-hmm. So they had a kind of a respite going across the field, and the North Carolina troops actually advanced further to the front. To the wall than the other troops.
Got you.
But they had terrible losses. But what's
the title of that book again? It says North Carolina Remembers Gettysburg.
Yeah.
And who's it by?
Michael Hardy.
Michael Hardy.
Yeah,
okay.
he's given us a couple programs.
Okay. And so if you're looking here on Facebook Live and streaming, and you're listening out there in your car, you're on that drive home, you're coming up 77 or down 77, or you're maybe on 40 here in the area. You're over in Alexander County, Rowan County, all of Iredell, Harmony, Troutman, Mooresville. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Brian Summers here, and this is On the Record. We're talking to David Pope, and we're talking about the Gettysburg, 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg up there in Pennsylvania, and that there were regiments from North Carolina's 37th, 38th, Alexander County Rocky Face Rangers, particularly, who fought up there in Gettysburg. And so that's just some good history to really find. I think I am a huge proponent of history, and I say that in so many ways because it's everything. We preserve it, we learn from it, we grow from it. That's why it's just that dang on important.
Right.
And so, I'm learning from you now, just this morning, just hearing, some of or this afternoon, some of the numbers and the figures of what was represented. That North Carolina had more casualties than any other state there at Gettysburg.
There's a marker up there. It says 1 out of 4 people of the Confederates that fell on the field was from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And North Carolina was the last state to secede. They had, they didn't secede till May 20th. 1861.
Gotcha.
And that was because
and people have a misnomer out there that somehow it was all about it, and they don't have that correct at all. The perception doesn't match up to that. And again, then too, I think it's for the people, the living, to also make sure that we set history straight in such a way and correct. And, and I'm curious about all of this. That's why, I sought you out, reached you out, and I said, hey, I want to know, I want to find out more. It's interesting to me. It matters. And so, and I'm sure that, the curiosity of as I think I told you, growing up, me and some of my friends, we would play in the woods. And so, we would be adventurous, and if we knew about, Gettysburg, Sharpsburg, Mechanicsburg, these battle excursions during the Civil War, it was like, okay. And now you get to see those places that you read about in real life. Right, and this is history that's out there, folks. It is out there. It is for us to preserve it. It is for us to educate everyone on it and learn from it, for sure. And so that to me is just what we're doing. And I am so glad and thankful to have you here to kind of expound on it, because I think there wasn't a lot of media around from Saturday the 1st on about the 3 days of the battles up there at Gettysburg. I just didn't, at least, maybe I missed it, because I was off on vacation to a degree, but I just didn't see a whole lot around it. And then if it was, they kind of always make it about Lincoln and that address.
That's right.
But he arrived there after everything was over.
They went and exhumed the soldiers were basically buried where they fell. So when they were making the National Cemetery, they dug down, and if they found a button that didn't say U.S. on it, they just covered the person back up. So they left all the Confederate bodies
where they were
there.
So when did the battlefield become or get declared as a national cemetery, or how?
I guess when Lincoln made the address, they were dedicating the cemetery at that time.
Okay,
and the Confederates were actually moved. Let's say they weren't totally moved, because I don't think you could lay on the ground 6-7 years and be totally moved. But there was these ladies that became the daughters of the Confederacy. Otherwise, they paid so much per body to exhume these soldiers and move them.
Gotcha.
And most of them went to Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond.
Gotcha.
And there's a monument there where there's 18,000 soldiers buried there.
So the National Park Service has charge over this, as they do with, I think they even have charge over the presidential houses, birthplaces of former presidents. So I know a little bit about, and actually the White House in D.C. The Park Service comes under there. And the reason I say that is when I worked for the George W. Bush administration, my check actually came under Department of Interior, because the White House is not its own executive, treasury balance with itself. So there are various departments,
Mhm.
and so that was just interesting in itself. But I never really forgot that. So he had a Department of Interior. Falls, and so the Park Service part falls underneath that. So if you're going out, folks, you're going to do any road tripping this summer, you want to check out some of these sites we talked. Can you name some more battlefields in Virginia?
Well, if you go up 81, you pass through. There's a battlefield at Newmarket, Virginia.
Okay.
Of course, if you go through Lexington, Virginia, there's the grave of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. There's VMI is there, the Virginia Military Academy.
Okay.
So there's a lot of historical things there. You go on up the road to Stanton, and you go through a place called Fisher's Hill. 81 cuts right through the middle of the battlefield. Of course, it cuts right through the middle of Newmarket also. That was a battle in '64. And you get to Winchester, and that's a real nice, beautiful place there with a lot of historic old houses. And there were like 70. It changed hands 72 times.
I gotta tell you my Winchester, Virginia story. It is the only Waffle House in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
It is 58 miles from Washington D.C. I know that because when I was in D.C., I could not get Waffle House. I had to drive to Winchester, Virginia, go out 66 and then make a beat and go up 29. 04 through Middleburg and those whole area to get that's my Winchester, Virginia story there as far as that. But I mean, that Virginia countryside, Shenandoah, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's a part of the heritage of this country, the scenery of things that took place there, history in itself. And so, yep. But anyway, David Pope is my guest here. You're looking live on Facebook. He's here. We got the same barber, and but he's here talking Gettysburg, 160 years of the battle there at Gettysburg, in which we all